Hello, everybody, and thank you to joining us in today's webinar about automating success, how a smart business process solutions for decision makers. Today, our presentators will be Nihil Kothari, Executive Director on Intertek Systems, and Ilian Radojtsov, Chief Commercial Officer in Aura Quantic. We will reserve time for questions. You can send us the questions through the chat or through the specific chat for Q&A, and we will answer the questions at the end of the webinar. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and just without any more things for my part, please, Nihil, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the good introduction, Francisco. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Actually, good afternoon in this part of the world, at least. I'm sure it's morning for Ilian right now. So I think the overall subject, I think today, if you look at it across industries, I think two big keywords that come along almost every discussion, almost every second meeting is either it's AI or it's automation. And I think today we are addressing the whole area of your business process automation, low code, no code, etc., but which doesn't stand without AI as well. So they all pretty much complement each other in the whole journey. And I think any organization that wants to drive results along the way, are walking down this path. So if I just look at from a perspective of what all we're going to cover today, we'll cover the trends, what's happening today, across the world, across industries. What sort of approach, when we look at business process transformation, how do we see it, from our perspective? And then looking at various use cases and case studies that, we've seen in this part of the world that, customers have adopted, be it public sector, be it private sector combinations. And then, you're going to hear a lot about Aura Quantic, being one of the leaders in this whole area of work around the world. And actually get to see how things actually work on the system as well at the end of the presentation. So if you look at starting with the trends that are there today. So if you look at organizations today, if you look at by 2025, as per Gartner, they say 85% of the organizations that are large across the world are either deploying something on hyper-automation or low-code platforms or AI or something along the side to streamline operations. I think very few will actually be left behind in this journey along the way. Why are they doing this? Either it is to drive operational efficiency, it is to make better decisions, or it is to actually drive customer-centric process transformation, right? So ultimately, every business drives customers, drives operations behind it, and ultimately coming down to how do I cut down response times? How do I get better customer experiences happening? How do I get my employees to be more productive? And these are all, different areas that we actually, work on a day-to-day basis. We also see alongside with this, there's also an adoption of AI alongside in the business process management market. If you see the sort of CAGR being over 20%, is typically driven on very, very high growth businesses only in the technology industry. So it tells you the sort of power and the impact that the overall business process management industry, along with AI, are going to have in the years to come. If you look at the same story, also from an industry play, well, the former being generic, but this kind of solidifies the statement. If you look across industries, you will see the adoption curve going anywhere between 20 to 30%. If you see examples here, the spend on low code by government going at a 30% annual CAGR. This is typically we've seen driven by the need of better citizen experiences, governance of processes, response times of government to businesses and citizens has all been a very big growth curve, and we see the same in this region as well. Banking has always been a very early adopter when it comes to this area of work along the many years, I think before many others. But if you see, the growth curve continues being on a very, very high trajectory. And we see the same going across industry curves, right? And the same if you look at it across other industries as well. You look at healthcare. We've seen, here both from a regulator as well as a provider perspective. You see, telecom again has been a very, very old, player when it comes to the area of automation. Manufacturing, again, we see a lot of manufacturing organizations having, large ERP plays of, typical SAP, Oracle, etc. But we still see a lot of the process automation or low-code, no-code approach happening outside of it. So they typically are looking at adopting a complete digital process backbone that plugs into their core systems. When we look at the process transformation approach at Intertek, how do we see it? For us, typically, it's all about, first of all, you need to agree within, with your stakeholders internally on what is the shared vision that you want to drive, right? Why do we need to embark on this roadmap in the first place? So it starts with you set up a vision. The vision has to align to the core business objectives. So for example, if you're a regulator, you want to make sure that anything to do with the regulator process, for example, issuing a license, is priority. Once the vision is driven, is agreed, you need to prioritize the journeys that you want to go after on a phase 1 or a phase 2 and along the way. Once that is done, based on the priorities that are agreed, you basically want to go after a business process consulting exercise, right? So where you look at the as-is processes, identify pain points, and agree together what's the to-be processes with business. Alongside that, you want to also make sure the user experience is taken care of both for the customer as well as the employee. We've seen very often when customers don't take care of the employee experience, the digital adoption goes down. So one doesn't neglect that. One has to look at both all the personas having a superior experience. Along with the as-is state, you also want to make sure the KPIs and SLAs are well defined. So whatever you're doing, the end goal is to improve the outcomes, and you keep measuring and drive continuous improvement with that. Following that, we look at the technology architecture. There's no one size fits all. Industry to industry, use case to use case. We look at what's the best fit to make sure the technology roadmap is taken care of. The quality assurance is a strong part of the delivery process. And finally, when you look at the change management and sustenance, basically you really want to make sure you have a good sustenance team to drive change and support with customers. And along with that, make sure there's a cycle of continuous improvement. Because whatever you did in the consulting exercise initially, there's always going to be improvement along the life cycle of the organization. Right? If you look at use cases, there are so many when it comes to process automation. We've seen use cases driven across government services, typically regulators, or government services to citizens. All need digitalization and all need very, very strong processes in the background. You see compliances, for example, if you look at banking as a sector or others which are highly regulated sectors, there's a strong drive of compliance. Business operations, be it your finance, your HR, legal, your admin, all need a lot of automation and processes that actually cut end to end, right? A good example would be, for example, if you look at an employee onboarding, an employee onboarding process is not just HR. It cuts across almost every department in the organization that supports the employee. So how do you drive those processes end to end, and the integrations along the way and decision making is all part and process of the use cases. So when you look at, once all of that is defined, also when you look at technology, we believe there are two schools of thought here. And again, there's no one size fits all. What we see here, if you look at from a public sector perspective, if you look at UAE as a good example of that, we've seen there are a lot of government guidelines that are defined on user experience standards. Not just that, we've seen there's a lot of unification of the user experience that is mandated by government, right? So if you look at, for example, Abu Dhabi government, they would have something called a Time Factory, which would unify all the user experience across all departments of government into one single user experience interface. In such approaches, we typically see that a decoupled architecture with a headless BPM approach is a very idealistic approach, because you could run very good user experience and make sure it's streamlined across government departments. But for each government department, you still need the backend to be taken care of, be it on the business process, be it on the employee experience. It's still part and parcel of what that particular entity owns. And this is something that we would continue to deliver as a decoupled architecture, as a headless architecture. And this is something as an architecture which is not defined only for government. We've seen this today with the MAC3 architecture of retail. We've seen this with the e-commerce architecture, right? We've seen this with the insurance industries. Many industries which have regulated or mandated user experience guidelines where it's a decoupled requirement. We very well support such architectures, with a very unified approach on how you run the backend as well. And you'll hear a lot more of that when Indian comes in on how we can empower the backend operations on that. The second approach is when you don't have any of that, but you want to really drive the whole digital process backbone of an organization. Let's say you're from manufacturing or a large enterprise, or even government for that matter, and you want to look at automating all the processes on the back end, right? So you want to do, I spoke about customer onboarding, employee onboarding. Similarly, you have customer onboarding. You may have certain process on petty cash vouchers. You want to run your public relations processes, your legal processes. Now, these are all systems where the front end, back end, everything could be pretty much unified into one strong platform like Autocontact, right? So, because you really don't need to be looking at multi-systems here. It's more of one core platform integrating to the various data sources or applications you may have around it. So these are typically the two approaches we see on technology that are needed in the market. And the good thing is we cater to both. So very, very flexible on fitting into any sort of architectural need based on different use cases. Right. So if you look at some of the success stories that we've actually implemented in this part of the world, we have multiple government departments where we've done actually work on both actually a decoupled architecture as well as a second architecture where they don't have such guidelines required. Because as a capability of platform, we can do pretty much anything. But like I said, every use case is different. This is an example of a utility company. It's a water wastewater provider for an entire country in this part of the world, where we started with an environment where they had physical customer service centers, a lot of processes run manually, data being inconsistent because it was dependent on what's there at each customer service center at a particular day and reconciled at data stages. So they never really had also real-time information of data to predict the sort of collections, forecasting people, planning, the workloads. So a lot of issues, both from a process, response time, unhappy customers, data consistency, and forecasting capabilities. When we got in, we started with a complete business process re-engineering exercise. We've today done more than, I think, 60 services with them, where we went in, the beauty is everything being on a BPMN modeling, the business was extremely close to technology in running the whole process improvement across the organization. We actually went into processes where we could find bottlenecks, we found scope of improvement, but alongside we also did things like redefining certain tariffs in the country. And because when you see the whole thing end to end with business, it makes you think differently. With this, we then implemented the entire digital platform, which is Autocontact. We built the portals, we built the apps, we built other digital channels like WhatsApp today. So today customers can actually go on WhatsApp and get information on the processes tightly aligned, tightly integrated. We've also done things like integrating to the utility systems, their asset management systems on the workforce, where even if a citizen does a complaint, let's say there's a water leakage in their area, it goes on our digital platform, but goes to the mobile workforce of the contractor within SLA. So they're able to do a complete integration between the customer experience and the operations and maintenance as well within utilities. So it's very much of an end-to-end story. And with this, we've actually been, I think, highly, and this particular program has been awarded multiple times and been regarded as one of the best digital transformation programs run in the country. And you know, the show goes on from there with a continuous improvement cycle every year. This is another example of a customer who actually uses SAP, and their problem was, you know, we have SAP as a core system, but we have other systems also in the organization, and you know, if you have to do everything within SAP, it's going to slow us down, be very expensive, both from a licensing and the, you know, implementation of things to be done. And the whole requirement for them was, how do I curtail time to market? How do I do it at a lower cost? And you know, how do I do things in a way that we can manage a lot of the things ourselves? So we said with this, you know, we proposed Aura Quantic simply with a few very, very key benefits. One, you have ready connectors to SAP, so we could do BAPI level integrations. Second is, when you look at the whole platform being completely no code, you know, building skills with the customers is extremely easy. You don't need very expensive technical skills or complexities. Documentation or process in the system. The process mapping is in the system. Change management is in the system. It's all drag and drop visual, and you could pretty much make changes on the fly. With this, we were able to automate many processes within the organization of the customer. They're one of the large, FMCG organizations in the country, and this has been something which has been an engagement running now for already 3 years, and they continue onboarding more and more processes along with it. Right. So with this today, if you look at it, they've already integrated SAP with finance, with HR, materials requisition, as some examples. They've gone completely paperless on the processes that we've automated. They also have very much high visibility today on the KPIs and performance. They know how their processes are performing. They know how their employees in the process are performing. The sort of process turnaround that they were able to cut from, you know, a couple of weeks to a couple of days or a couple of hours has all become possible today. And this all ultimately leads to much higher employee satisfaction and productivity. So they're able to do more today at the same cost. Yeah. There's some examples of, if you look at when I spoke of native integration with SAP, it's something we will be able to accomplish at speeds that they couldn't have imagined. Right, so I think that's where I think some of the key overview points. So I'll hand it over to Ilian from here, who will take you through a lot more on Aura Quantic and actually show you how the excitement can be delivered. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nikhil, for the case studies and your experience that you had with implementing and really transforming businesses by using this new type of approach to application development. And in the end, what the tool or what this technology is what we represent, and Aura Quantic is the company that sits behind these initiatives. And what we do is really help those customers and those initiatives to be fulfilled without the use of any technical support. Now, when we talk about low code, no code, in the end, Aura Quantic is the platform that supports that. And we have quite a bit of experience because we are defined as an all-in-one enterprise platform to actually achieve those digital transformations. And the key factor in this is that we use different components that are covered within the platform, from, of course, the business intelligence side to analyze and really understand what's going on in your business, because any digital initiative and any transformation initiative needs to be in a continuous flux of improvement. And this only can come when you get really valuable intel from your operation, from your processes, from your IT ecosystem. Another part is, of course, the user experience, because our business is run by people who interact with our providers, with our customers, with our citizens. So the platform as well takes care of this part, which is the how and through what are we going to interact with this platform. And that is everything related with the user interface and as well the experience that you get by interacting with it. The third point is, of course, process automation, which in the end is anything that is happening within our business in our day-to-day operations, from short-running activities to long-running processes and procedures that could run from days to weeks, months, or even years, that are automated within the platform to actually make sure they are being executed the way that has been established, and of course, covering all the governance and the business objectives that have been set forth. The fourth point is, of course, the trendy one, is artificial intelligence, but we have been using different types of artificial intelligence from the very beginning of our existence. Yes, it was called differently. It was called decision making. It was business rules, conditions. It was calculations, or anything that has been automated by the IT system. And now we include as well the so-called generative AI as part of our features to really enrich even more the ROI that you can get from implementing with Aura-Quantic. All of this is, of course, spread through the intranet and extranet for our customers, that it's an ecosystem solution that is not only for the operations within a business or a government entity, but as well for the interaction with all the exterior elements that our business ecosystem interacts with. We have been doing this for quite a bit of time, so it has been over 20 years that we have been on the market and helping organizations globally. As you can see, we operate in more than 50 countries with over 10 million users that are using our platform on a daily basis. And this is something that enriches our knowledge about not only the technology, but as well on the effects it has on those businesses spread out all over the world in all different types of industries. Now, what does the platform include? It has intelligent document processing, so everything that has to do with processing not only the typical PDFs, docs, and any type of textual content, but as well any type of content through process and artificial intelligence that is called intelligent document processing. Then we have, of course, the ECM, because all this information that is gathered throughout our organization, even if it's spread out in multiple places, in Aura-Quantic, we can unify it and create an easy way of accessing this information that sits in our businesses and it's collected from multiple sources. Connectors as well, very important. In Aura-Quantic, we have native connectors to integrate, as you heard from here, one example with SAP, but there's really no system we cannot integrate with, as we have a wide variety of connectors, from the typical web service connectors that are REST APIs and SWAP APIs to native connectors with email, with different types of data structures based on ODBC, Excel files, but as well with the major brands of software, like it could be Salesforce, SAP, Dynamics, etc. Now, furthermore, of course, we have the workflow component, which is the storytelling component that actually orchestrates the activities not only between people, but as well between systems. So we call it actually a business orchestration and automation technology. And this helps exactly this component of breaking down the silo of communication between IT and business, because the way we create the logic of our applications and automate our processes is in the background a BPM diagram. It's a workflow diagram that anyone can understand. And even if you've never heard or never learned about BPMN 2.0, which is a global standard, we provide free of charge training to actually get you trained and certified in this way of storytelling and defining business operations. Another part is, of course, document management, because not only there are many parts of our business that still require the generation or the management of documents, and this is a native out-of-the-box feature, so not even requires an integration with a third-party platform. The no-code application development, which is, again, a result of the combination of all of those previous components mentioned. And this, of course, is not something that is only our opinion. That is a success of combining all of this type of tools and provide them to our customers. But as well, there are global companies that do this analysis every year. And one of the latest reports which is from the Technology Evolution Centers. It's a Canadian company that has evaluated us versus other vendors in the world that can provide not only an amazing user experience as an end result of our implementations, but as well achieve a full stack functionality. That means that you can really automate and create solutions for any type of business, for any type of use case by using our Aquantic. Not only tech has evaluated us, we have been continuously evaluated by Gartner, that we have been published in over 13 different MQs and market guides that you can check on our website and read detailed information about this. But as well, for vertical use cases, in this case as a business process management, as a BPM software, we have been evaluated as a market leader, and that has been done by our customers, which is very important, because in the end, this type of review is actually based on what actually has been done with the software and how content is the end customer by using this technology. So we're very proud of this this token of appreciation we received from our customers. And there's as well Quadrant Solutions, which continuously evaluate different aspects of business use cases. As you can see, we have been evaluated as a low-code application development platform, as an LCAP, although we don't require any coding whatsoever, but specifically with a focus for business users, but as well as a low-code application development platform for professional developers, as well as the core of our system, which is an IBPMS, which is Intelligent Business Process Management System, and as well as an orchestration system that actually will manage the communication between any element of our business. It doesn't matter if it's a human interaction or if it's an IT system. So this brings us to the differential value and why our Aquantic, why did we have this success? It's because we combined the key elements of the necessities of our customers with the future-proofed elements in our development and our roadmap and what we brought actually to the market. So we are a true cloud technology. We can use this on any type of cloud, but specifically on Azure, we are native, as well as, of course, for on-prem implementation as well available. IoT integrations, as more and more we interact with the world through sensors, and that as well becomes part of your business processes, machine learning algorithms for improving your decision making and actually providing you with more insight of what to do next, even when internally you don't have the knowledge. It's going to be generated by machine learning algorithm, faster and more reliable connectivity with your systems, so not using outdated ways of actually moving and interacting with data between systems, but actually doing it with industry standards like APIs, and of course end-to-end automation, because we're not talking about only taking one part of the business activity, we're talking from every aspect of it. All of this is combined with a really transparent way of communicating those interactions with the business ecosystem. So with real-time data notification, with visual analysis of what is happening. As I said, the business intelligence part is very important, and the continuous improvement that is provided by all of the features we have out of the box, like simulation, process mining, and many others. Now, what makes us really different? So these are trends and technology that's included inside the platform that are available in the market as standalone solutions or approaches that you can do. But all of this is included out of the box inside the platform. So we have this intelligence capabilities of analyzing, extracting value from your business operations, as well as doing in-depth analysis with with our native business rule engine, with our capabilities of analyzing why something happened, detecting bottlenecks, possible improvements. All of this, of course, under the scope of no code. So it's really empowering the business users to get the best out of their operations, and as well and ease of use, because this user experience every day becomes more and more important. It could be the most valuable system in the world, but if your change management fails because it's going to be rejected by your employees, by your customers, or by the citizens of a country, of a region, then even the best system will fail. So this ease of use and this continuous improvement of the user experience is very important and what makes us different. The high quality of service, as seen by the report by our customers, because we are very close hand in hand working with our partners like Intertek Systems, but as well with our customers that provides us insight of what can be made better. And even the success of our Quantic has come by providing this high quality service, interacting with our customers, collecting feedback, and including it directly into our roadmap and operational excellence models. Scalability, because our Quantic, although it is an enterprise platform, it is for big organization, multinational organization. It can be used as well for small companies or departments that are starting up this initiative within their organization, because our Quantic can start up from a small use case for 20 employees up to millions of people interacting with the same system. In this case, scalability can be vertical as well as horizontal. Now, so you can see actually what the platform actually is, and just give you a little bit of an oversight of what the platform can do. I can start with the first part, which is, okay, what or how does our Quantic look like? No? Because in the end, how do you imagine that this digital transformation platform will be for you and for your organization? And the answer to this is the way you imagine it. Because the platform itself has a huge list of components for customization without a single line of code, from visualization of data to interactions like buttons or dashboards that are going to be created for really interacting with the interface the way you need it to be, calendar views to organize your work, and all of this is without any limit of in your imagination. Now, so let's see how some of those could look like for you. So we have different charts and graphs that can be created all natively without a single line of code that's needed to be used. They're completely dynamic and interactive. So this is data that comes from your processes, from your applications, from systems that you have connected with our Quantic. There's no limit what kind of graphics you're going to be generating, how they will look like for you. The same thing as well with dashboards that really will give you a one-look insight into what is happening in your business and where you should interact with. So all of these features and functionalities, as I said, are native and don't require any coding whatsoever. They're completely dynamic and they have drill down capabilities to really interact with the information that sits behind each one of those values in a way that you need to design and experience it. Same thing as well with the different forms, because we have a native form designer that will allow you to generate any types of forms that you want. So from simple forms with embedded navigation that can be done to input data forms that will be designed the way your employees need it to be done, as well as using any type of input fields that you will be needing for actually consuming and feeding in information into your processes are available to be used in our system, like different styles to generate different ways of visualizing these input fields, to time and date fields, numeric fields that can be structured and configured to have a different type of interaction depending on the use case. Integration of external sources from data files to upload documents that can be viewed even directly on screen without the necessity of inputting. So all of this is available as part of the platform, and there's no limit of how this is going to be combined to actually achieve your digital transformation. So combining all of these different features, of course, you can create different interfaces. This could be your intranet. It's just an example of something that has been built with our Aquantic that not only has an ease of interaction, but each one of the applications that are embedded in this interface are different. They have been structured, they have been generated for the specific use case that is needed. Integrations have been done in the background without even the user needing to know or notice that he is interacting with multiple data sources. So all of this is created so that there's an ease of use and a very fast interaction. It doesn't matter what kind of application you're going to be building, if it's for document management, if it's for purchasing, if it's for HR, all of it is simply a way of designing those applications and creating their use case. No? As you can see, each one of them is completely different. And this can go on, of course, without any limitations. This is a different example. This is as well out of Aquantic, simply designed in a different way for a different use case. And how the user is going to interact with the different applications, it really is up to you. So it can be something that is a simple form or an application that follows a specific type of logic, or it could be something that is more complex and maybe the interactions are created in a different way. So all of this, the look and feel and the logic that is sitting behind these visualizations and these interfaces is in the hands of our customers and our partners to help them achieve it. Of course, behind each one of those applications, there is a logic. And this logic, as we already mentioned, is based on BPMN. BPMN is a storytelling, it's a way of defining business processes and application logic that is a way of actually defining operations, creating business logic and applications that is a very easy way not only to design, but as well to follow up and audit. As you can see in this case, I can easily see how the logic of the execution of this process has been executed. I can follow up and see every individual step in the process, when it was done, what did it happen, even if it's done by the system, something that has been automated, decisions that have been made, and all of this, again, without a limit of how complex it can be. Here's a more complex example. This has almost 20 pages of diagram. But again, it doesn't really matter how complex the process is going to be or what you want to automate or achieve with the application. You will be able to tell the story, continuously improve it because it's simply drag and drop. And more importantly, when it comes to auditing, you have a visual way of doing it. You have a very graphical way of interacting with it. And as well, you can create your own dashboards that will generate the content that you are interested in to actually make decisions and improve your digital initiative. Now, all of this, again, is completely web-based. So even creating all of these applications, interfaces, logic, dashboards, integrations are done within the web platform of Aura Quantic, which again can be on-prem as well as in the cloud. But you don't need anything else than simply a web browser to interact with all the features of the platform and generate those applications that you need. From creating a completely new demo for webinar application that will generate a completely new data structure in the background. You don't even have to understand anything about SQL or even HTML or any of the systems that are going to be generating content for you, because you interact with what is the upper layer, which is Aura Quantic. You can tell the story by simply drag and drop objects onto a canvas that will tell a certain story depending on the use case. You saw that it can get very complex. So I simply have to tell a story when people were going to interact, so task for a person or a system activity, so a task for that needs to be executed by the system, or even when specific activities need to interact with a timer. You simply tell the story by diagramming or making a drag and drop logic that will define the execution of your application and will define how this application is going to run in your everyday interactions. Now, this, of course, goes together with a lot of helpers that are going to do you a very big favor by checking if this makes actually sense. In this case, as you can see, I've made one mistake. It will tell me even where this mistake is and what kind of mistake it has. In this case, my decision outlet, this two have names, this one doesn't. So it needs to be defined. Let's say, wait 8 days. So I'm going to simply fix my mistake, and it is now a correct logic that can be executed. Now, this correct logic, of course, is only the story, but the details come when you use those components of Aura Quantic to create the application. Like, for example, defining if it's going to be done by the employee, by an external, or something who doesn't have a login and password, so by an anonymous user. The tool will guide you even how to do the work. So if you want this to be done by a form, it will allow you to use our form designers and design a form for any of the screens or any of the devices that you want, or you can create an omni experience that will inherit the design for the rest of the devices. Or you decide that it needs to be done by a web service, and you simply define that, okay, this is a new application and I need this to be done through web services. So I will simply define that this is going to be generating web services on demand so that this logic can be triggered by a web service from an outside system. As you can see, everything inside Aura Quantic is simply through configuration screens. If this counter needs to be configured, it will guide me to configuration. It has to do with timers. So, for example, duration control, and this is going to be working days, natural hours, whatever you need to establish, and you simply configure it by following the guided configuration inside Aura Quantic. The tool, of course, is very complex. It's a very big enterprise platform, but the good thing is that we provide training for anyone that wants to learn that, and you can work together with people with a lot of experience in how to create not only simple logic, to create the user experiences that you want to create and interact with the platform exactly how you want the platform to interact for you. So I open at this point the questions section, Francisco. Are there any questions that we could answer during this session?
Right now, we don't have any questions. Just as a reminder to all the assistants, we trigger a poll. So if you are so kind to answer the poll questions that we already sent to you. And as Ilian has said, we are ready to answer your questions. So please, you can fill the questions in the chat or in the specific chat for the Q&A.
I see a question that is regarding how long does it take to implement a platform like this. It really depends on the complexity of the processes or the applications you need to implement. So we have customers that have done complex procedures in a minimum viable product in less than 2 weeks, up and running for thousands of employees in their organization. And of course, we have customers that have done hundreds and hundreds of applications and processes that have needed 6 months to 1 year to actually implement them. It will depend as well on the team that is going to be working with our platform. But the timeline will depend mainly on how ready every organization is to face such an initiative, by preparing and having a clear objective, what they want to achieve and how they want to achieve it, and work in an agile way together between business and IT to actually achieve it. So the timelines can actually vary.
I don't know, Nihil, if you want to add anything to what Ilian has said.
Yeah, no, I think he's already summed it up. But just to give you an example, out here we've seen processes that have taken a week. We've seen very large programs going into tons of processes which take a year, 2 years sometimes, which is not because of the time of development, but it has a lot to do with the stakeholder management, the business process reengineering, the user experience design. So if you minus all of that out, the time actually taken to develop the process is not very long. We see the time being taken more in terms of stakeholder expectation management, the documentation, the internal processes, availability of people. So one of the advices we give customers very often is, there's always a vision from it when it comes down from the board or the management, is you wanted to get everything done as of yesterday, right? I think and that's when coming to prioritization is extremely important, because you may say, I want to do 50 processes, but the question is, do you have the number of resources that are going to be allocated to run it, for the workshops, for the process reengineering exercises, for the UATs, the testing, and all of that? Because there's not so much of only capacity we build, it's about the organization's capacity also to run the timeline that's required. So I would say from a process building perspective, I think Oracle does it extremely well, extremely fast. I think we've seen speed that's required versus anybody can be equally matched or bettered many a times. But the whole thing really goes into the program management. I think that's where, if that's done right, the expectations set right internally on how the processes are going to run the program, I think is equally important as how we run the technology.
That's great to know. Ilian, please go ahead.
Another question regarding costing. So in AuraQuantic, we have a very transparent model on costing. As most companies are used to a very like smoke screen of costing with enterprise IT systems. In our case, we don't charge anything about over how many applications you're going to be creating or how many times you're going to be executing those applications. We don't even charge on complexity, so they can be simple processes, as you saw as an example, or very complex or long-running application with hundreds and hundreds of steps, and we don't charge anything on that. We only charge based on users, which makes it a very easy to scale model as well from a costing perspective, so you can control your expenses with us. And those user-based costing can be in subscription as well as in a one-time payment model. Completely indifferent from if you're going to be hosting it on-prem or if you're going to be hosting it in the cloud. We have both licensing models. And those licensing models, apart from being only for the users, so only for the people that are going to interact with the applications, can be in a named model or in a concurrent system, so that you can actually allow a big amount of people to interact with those applications with a small amount of licenses available.
I hope we answered the questions. And as I see that we don't have any more questions, I think it's time to say farewell and see you in our next meeting. To all of our assistants, thank you, Ilian. Thank you, Nihil, for the clear explanations. And if you want to add anything else.
I think that's great. I think it's a journey that if whoever's not gone into already, I think we're here to support you. And as a team together with Oroquantic and Intertek, we've seen enough success stories. So all I can say is you'll be in safe hands.
Yes, thank you, Francisco and Nihil. And I see as well that every day more and more organizations choose this path of using no-code and really onboarding initiatives to transform the business, or even simply standardizing it to actually figure out what is going well and what's not going so good in their business. And we can help with the experience of Intertek and with the technology of Oroquantic to achieve any objectives that you might have. So as well, thank you for your attendance and the time you dedicated to us. And you're welcome to investigate our websites, our YouTube channels, and find out more about Intertek and as well about Oroquantic. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.